As ruggedly appealing as this land is in its raw beauty, its inhabitants are just as wildly disfigured and monstrous in appearance. Many of them have hideous, swollen necks. Cretans and the deaf-mute roam every village.
Their clothing is barely European, just as their appearance is barely human.
The overall sight of these people is the most shocking I've ever witnessed.
That's how the Scottish philosopher and diplomat David Hume described the land that was both mocked and feared. Because allegedly, in this particular place, dullness, deformity, and malformations weren't the exception, but supposedly the norm. But is such a thing even possible?
What kind of question is that supposed to be? What's the point of it? Explain that one to me!
I'm already explaining, aren't I? Where was I? Oh right, back in the past. The quality of doctors, average life expectancy, balanced nutrition and hygienic conditions weren't exactly stellar anywhere in the world back then. So why weren't these conditions rampant everywhere? Or was it just a construct of fears and prejudices from a bygone era? We'll dive into that in this clickbait mini-documentary. In today's landscape, you won't find a trace of this history. No surprise there. On such a sensitive topic, nobody's building memorials or goiter-shaped statues. So hardly anyone knows the story. And the people themselves don't exactly look mutated or monstrous anymore. The only hint of this dim-witted past might be the region's unofficial slogan, endlessly repeated like a prayer. Our blood isn't made of noodle soup. Whatever that means. So, you should have guessed it by now. What land are we talking about?
That's the next idiotic question. Can't you come up with something smarter?
I don't need to come up with anything. Because you can't just make up a story like this. But before we spiral out of control here, I suggest you lean back and join me on a journey to the land of deformities and a not-so-pretty era in Styria's history. Our story begins 1,900 years ago. The Roman satirist Juvenal mocked the Alpine dweller, noting that a massive swollen goiter didn't even raise an eyebrow there. Okay, those two's eyebrows still did. The architects, Plinius Secundus and Vitruve, expressed pity for the poor women of the Alpine dwellers, who were, naturally, less than thrilled about their situation. Fast forward almost 1,000 years. In Europe at the time, so-called pattern books were used for education and instruction, depicting animals, people, maps, and more. In one such book, the Reiner pattern book, you'll find the first illustration of a goitered Styrian. Okay? And there, you can see a fool's staff, hinting that this visibly physically impaired gentleman also suffered from mental deficiencies. A goiter casually slung over the shoulder to restore mobility and vision. Whether these are additional goiters or rather exaggeratedly feminine breasts, I honestly can't say. Anyway, what's clear is that this multi-goitered fool shows great interest in the excretory organ of a frog. Okay, and here's the next one. A bit harder to spot, but if you look closely, yup, another goiter situation. But it's thanks to the humanist and enlightener Johannes Boemus that Styria became Europe's laughingstock and beyond, reduced to a punchline for jokes and ridicule. Hardly flattering, he wrote. monstrous goiters so massive they hindered speech, and women, when they wanted to breastfeed, had to sling their goiter in a sack over their shoulder just so the child could drink. Unfortunately, he wrote this in a tome that basically founded ethnology. It went through 40 reprints and translations into English, French, and Italian, a bestseller of the early modern era, despite 90% illiteracy. There were even suggestions back then to replace the Styrian panther with a goiter emblem. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But let's get to the important stuff. Dating. It's a total disaster these days. But never forget the Soviet proverb: things can always get worse. And with that, off to Graz, in the time of Archduke Johann. Grüß Gott. Back then, only 9 out of 10 young men were even fit for military service. The most common reasons for disqualification: goiter, scabies, stunted growth, general weakness, and feeble-mindedness. Those lucky enough to be healthy and strong got to serve 12 years in some far-off garrison. A total wipeout for the dating market back home. The women left behind basically had 3 types of marriage prospects: the goitered, the scrawny, or the dim-witted. The blind were also highly sought after, provided they weren't missing any other body parts, or had too many hanging off them. But where did all these physical abnormalities come from? Well, here's the deal. Nobel Prize winner and Graz University professor Julius Wagner-Jauregg discovered, at the end of the 19th century, the link between these deformities and a deficiency in the trace element iodine. It's as rare in Styrian soil as an Austrian politician who actually represents the people's interests.
Hello, my football mice.
Have you had lunch yet? What? You've eaten already? Or are you just heading out?
Are you even normal?
He's the football mouse.
That's not normal! If we keep going like this, you'll have 2 choices later: alcohol or psych meds.
That's a good message.
Democracy haters.
Traitors to the people, in my opinion.
State deniers.
Is this decent talk?
Far-right extremists and neo-Nazis.
It's highly indecent.
I'm done.
Indecent.
I can't take it anymore.
Then I can go home.
Bye-bye.
Okay, sorry for that. So, Wagner-Jauregg travelled the land, preaching that Styrians, especially in mountainous areas, should add to their usual diet of schnapps and bacon some iodine-rich thyroid tablets. That's how they fought the abnormalities. Ha! What an accurate depiction of the actual events. Slowly, the deformities disappeared, and even the feeble-mindedness dropped to today's levels. But the prejudices and the myth of the disfigured Styrians lingered for a long time.
In Graz, he's reading from his new novel.
Ugh, the goitered ones. Can't they read for themselves?
Having languished as the jest of Europe for over a millennium, it's nice to see that today's Styrians only shock people with their dialect or alcohol consumption.
Drinking beer from cans.
That's just typical for the sneaky mountain folk.
We never intended to ridicule anyone with disabilities. Sometimes it's the strange stories that tell us the most about how we treat those left behind. And perhaps the Styrians were never monsters to begin with, just victims of misfortune, rumour, selective perception, and the ruthless momentum of group dynamics. Okay? Cool. Thanks for sticking around. Yay! Dear people, that's it. The end is here. Goodbye, lovely folks. See ya!